Every time you open Arknights, you see it. The slideshow presentation of game lore paired with some fabulous background music. It's almost iconic to the game. A constant that lets you know that you are playing Arknights. Yet many of us, myself included, have glossed over it, developing the muscle memory to tap anywhere on the screen once that yellow start button appears. Yet beneath this brief interaction between the player and the game lies some fascinating graphic design that helps players understand the world of Terra and the lore of Arknights. Perhaps it's time to give the humble loading screen the attention that it deserves. Arknights loading screens have a total of 8 unique variations, all of them covering different aspects of the Arknights lore. 5 of them describe general aspects of Arknights lore: Originium, Oripathy, Catastrophes, Nomadic Cities, and Rhodes Island. The other 3 refer to specific settings within Terra: the Empire of Ursus, Longmen, and the Victorian Empire. Taking a look at the general layout of the loading screen, you'll immediately notice the black rectangles in the top and bottom of the screens. These provide for backdrops with excellent contrast and thus readability. Important, for that's where the system messages, loading percentages, and the start button are presented. Speaking of the start button, as it appears, you'll notice how it expands and gradually fades out as if it were a ripple in the water. This subtle motion draws your attention, letting you know that the start button has appeared and you are able to start the game. Yet compared with the title screen for Arknights, the start button in there is placed centrally both horizontally and vertically. In addition, the start button is also much larger there as well compared to the loading screen. So why is the loading screen start button much smaller, and why is it also placed so much lower? Central to the loading screen, both figuratively and literally, is the image. There are many things to note about the image on the loading screen: its size relative to the other graphic design elements on the UI, and its position on the screen. These 2 elements, combined with the visual appeal of the images themselves, helps draw the attention of the viewer towards them. Furthermore, it also makes the image seem much more important than the other graphic elements on the UI. But why? How is it that graphic design can influence the perceived importance of certain elements on a user interface? Let's look into it with the typography of the loading screen. Hierarchy is key in establishing the importance of different elements within a graphic design. It directs the attention of viewers and conveys the significance of such elements to them. When it comes to text, there are many methods of influencing hierarchy, including position, color, capitalization, and visuals. However, one of the easiest methods to identify is size. Simple and effective, it is a commonplace in promotional material. In this case, differing sizes are used to distinguish between the 2 texts. On the left, you have the concept, and on the right, you have the description. The concept text is in a larger font size, which serves both to clearly distinguish it as the concept rather than the description, and emphasizes its importance to the viewer. On the other hand, the description text, while it does provide helpful insight into the different concepts, is not as important as the concept itself, thus it is a smaller font size. Furthermore, as the description text is longer than the concept text, the description text is physically bounded by the amount of space it's given. Looking at text from different loading screens, we can notice that the concept text is formatted with a rightwards alignment, while in comparison, the description text is formatted with a leftwards alignment. The description text also features no justification, meaning that the words are not spaced to where the ends are even. Using the imaginary boxes around the text, we can use that to draw some margin lines. From these margin lines, we can identify the system that is being used to format all the text. Some interesting things to point out with the system is that for concept text, most of the concept text for the different loading screens are able to fit in with the margin bounds provided. However, one exception to this is the Empire of Ursus, which is slightly longer than what could fit in the current margins. So, to ensure that the Kingdom of Ursus text would fit in, the text was downsized slightly in order to fit within the margins. As the description text for each loading screen can vary in length by a lot, it's much harder to set upper and lower margins for it. Instead, the description text is aligned in reference to the concept text, with the description text being aligned centrally to the concept text. Having the systems of graphic design for both the text and the general layout of the loading screen enables the loading screens to have a consistent look between them, even if they differ with the images. This is important considering the demographic of players who are most likely to be reading these in detail. Taking a look at the different aspects of Arknights these loading screens describe, we can see who these loading screens were mostly targeted for. 5 of the concepts presented in the loading screens are essential to the overall understanding of Arknights' world, while the 3 locations presented in the loading screen are the settings of the main story of Arknights. These different loading screens are primarily meant to help new players understand the world of Arknights. The consistency within the graphic design of the loading screens gives it the appearance of being formal, reliable, and authoritative. I think what's especially cool about the intro screens is that not only is it able to convey these ideas and concepts about Arknights to the player through the textual descriptions, but it's also able to convey such through the melding of the hierarchy between the images and the text as well. Take for instance the loading screen for Aripathy. With the use of hierarchy, most people will tend to focus on Aripathy when it comes to the text and also the girl in the middle of the image. This is a clever way of helping people create associations with different aspects of Arknights, contextualizing the lore and the world of the game. And since the loading screen appears every time at the start of the games, you can be sure that people will at least be able to remember the names of the different aspects that are presented. And so, there is a lot more to the humble loading screen than you might think. It's more than just something to skip over quickly to get into the game. It's a starting point for new players, a guide that they can rely on in the journey through the world of Arknights. And 3 years ago, I was one of those new players, whose first experience with the world of Arknights was the Arknights loading screen.